2009 meeting of the Pine-Richland School Board. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Williams.
Mr. Morset,
Here.
Mrs. Turchick,
Here.
Mr. Kashani,
Here.
Mrs. Brusalis,
Here.
Mr. Cassidy,
Here.
Mrs. Fortier,
Here.
Mrs. Hillman,
Here.
Mrs. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Weethorn.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to announce that the board met in executive session on Monday, September 9th for a litigation update on the federal case number 2-22-CV-01329. Before we move on to recognition of visitors, we do allow 60 minutes of speaking. We have more than that. I think we're at 3 people that have requested, correct, Mrs. Williams? Okay, so we're going to ask that, we come up quickly and we speak. I am going to give people 15 seconds notice. We're just doing that so we can try to get as many people in to speak as possible. So if you can be, the briefer you can be, we can get more people to speak. So and I'm going to go ahead, Mrs. Williams, go ahead. I'm going to note we started at 7:09 for speakers. Is that what you're getting? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 people online and the rest are in person. We'll start with the online person. And the first one is Art Medea. Mr. Stobener. Okay, we'll come back if we have time. Our first in-person speaker is Bonnie Alessi.
Good evening, my name is Bonnie Alessi. I have been a resident of Pine Township for 26 years. I have 2 2021 graduates of the district and I have worked here for 30 years. I have a unique insider view as to where my tax dollars are being spent. Although I appreciate that the district has a healthy fund balance and has limited tax increases, I am concerned that that fund has grown and taxes are not being spent to maintain the qualities that I chose to live here in the first place. I expect you, my elected officials, to put your own personal agendas aside and remember that it is your job to spend money wisely and do what it takes to stop Pine-Richland from crumbling around me. I wonder why some of you are wasting my tax dollars, arriving unprepared, asking the same questions repeatedly, and demanding that your professional staff needlessly rewrite policies and already rigorous curriculum and then force them to defend their instruction based on that curriculum. You are able to recognize the value of paying your administrators bonuses and raises. Why aren't you listening to their recommendations instead of tying their hands or wasting their time? Why don't some of you see the same value to offer those same salaries and comparable competitive wages to keep and attract your staff? Your own survey data shows that many tax-paying parents support using the district money for these fair contracts. I know you can figure out a way to use my tax dollars and put an acceptable contract on the table so that a strike will not be necessary for any of us. Please take a closer look at that huge fund balance and how you are spending taxes, because qualities that I love are fading away. Keeping class sizes small and rosters manageable, hiring enough staff to maintain course offerings and vital support services, provide generous budgets so your teachers don't have to ask parents to supply supplies when they're already paying high taxes, pay custodians generously, fill those empty positions, and keep my classroom safe and clean for your children. Maintain and improve the appearance of all of our buildings, not just this beautiful high school campus. All of our students need the curriculum materials in their hands. You could even try to expedite some of those HVAC repairs so that your children can learn in comfortable conditions instead of expediting expensive scoreboards. At Richland Elementary, our motto this year is "We can do hard things." Please do what it takes to support this staff. Provide the best for the students we care about, and maintain the reasons that I formally brag about working at Pine-Richland.
Thank you. Mr. Stovner? Our next online speaker is Shauna Schenken. Mr. Stovner?
Can we get the timer on the screen if that's possible for the speakers?
Are you Shauna?
Yep,
Oh,
I'm here. I
she's
made
in
it.
person.
I
Sorry.
made it.
Okay.
I'm Shauna Schenken. I live in Pine Township. I have 2 children at Wexford and a child at Eden Hall. My family moved here from North Allegheny because I wanted a smaller school, smaller classes, and more individualized attention for my kids. We pay the taxes to always live in great schools, and the teachers at Pine have always given us that experience. After everything that we went through with COVID, I didn't think that we'd have to continue having these conversations about appropriate compensation. When we don't give our teachers, who are our most valuable resource, the best, we will no longer be the best. We will not attract the best. We will not retain the best. We will not be able to hire the best because they won't come here, right? They deserve the best schedules, support, materials, and compensation so that they can be their best to be here for our kids every day. Okay, a great scoreboard or a playground is nice, but at the end of the day, when our kids leave this school year, they're not gonna look back and be like, oh man, I love that new playground. They're gonna say, I loved my teacher. And that's what these kids are taking away from them. The top schools in the state have ratios 15 to 1, 13 to 1. My child's in a classroom with 29 children. Okay, we now at Wexford have our 2nd grade having 27, 28 kids per class. Okay, our building is old. Outside of Eden Hall, the buildings in this district are old and they are falling apart, and they constantly have HVAC issues, leaking roofs, right? We're not giving these teachers the environment that they need to be their best. We're not allowing them to focus on doing their best. We're not showing them that we hired them because we think they are the best, because we're questioning them and not supporting them. So I ask you all to put aside your ideas about where this money needs to go and realize that the number 1 is the teachers. Number 2 is the buildings, right? That's what we need here. We don't need a fancy scoreboard, okay? We don't need a press box that looks like NBC Sports, okay? We need great teachers. We need to keep great teachers. We need to keep Pine-Richland the best. Pay them what they are worth. Take care of our kids. Thanks.
Mr. Stover, if we could go to our next online, or last online person, Elizabeth Thiel. Hello, Ms. Thiel? Hello? Ms. Thiel?
Yes.
You're on with the board.
Yes. Oh, perfect. 1 second. Okay, hi, my name is Elizabeth. I have 2 sons in the district at the high school and Eden Hall, and we live in Pine Township. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here tonight as not only a member of our community, but as a parent of a special education student. I've seen firsthand the dedication and passion that our teachers bring to their classrooms every day. Our teachers don't just teach subjects, they build relationships, adapt to individual needs, and work tirelessly to ensure that every child feels included and valued no matter their abilities or their challenges. As a parent of a child who requires extra support, I cannot overstate how grateful I am for the patience, creativity, and resilience of the teachers who have impacted our child's life and our lives. These educators are often asked to do more with less, yet they continue to show up every day for our kids with compassion and determination. I I believe it's our responsibility and yours as a board to support them, whether through resources, smaller class sizes, or simply by acknowledging their incredible contributions through fair pay. Supporting our teachers means supporting all of the children in Pine-Richland and ensuring that they have the tools, respect, and encouragement that they need to keep making a difference in every student's life. Teachers are part of the foundation of a functioning society, and their compensation should reflect the magnitude of that responsibility. Our teachers deserve higher pay because they are shaping the future by educating and inspiring the next generation of leaders in Pine-Richland and everywhere. They're taking on complex roles. They work long hours, often with limited resources, while having to adapt to diverse student needs. Fair compensation reflects their critical impact on society and our community and helps attract and retain talented educators and ensures quality education for all the students in Pine-Richland. I want to say a special thank you to Ms. Dean, Ms. Doan, and Ms. Kay, and all the special ed teachers and OTs and therapists. Great teachers are out there, and they will help every student. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kelly Heckert, and following her is Ann Myers.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Heckert. My husband and I have lived at 726 Franklin Road in Pine Township for the past 21 years. I've been a proud stakeholder in the school district for 24 years as a teacher and parent. We currently have 3 children in the district, 12th grade, 9th grade, and 6th grade. I would like to address tonight the lack of resources available to support 6th graders in their English and language arts classes. The 6th grade ELA Wonders online curriculum expired at the end of the 23-24 school year. The school board voted against the new curriculum and took no further action to get the curriculum into the hands of the 6th grade teachers and students. Therefore, the 6th grade teachers and students are currently operating without an ELA curriculum resource to guide their teaching and learning. I want to remind you all that these 6th graders are the same students that on March 13th, 2020 left school and didn't return to in-person learning until August of 2020 because of COVID. They're the same students that were the very first graders ever in Pine-Richland to be given Chromebooks to ensure that their Pine-Richland mission of focus on learning for every student every day was still continued all during the COVID years by these amazing teachers. If you want to see what Pine-Richland's values look like, take a look at any 6th grader. They have shown personal growth by managing remote learning during COVID as first graders, the most critical time for learning to read. They've shown resilience by adapting to use many forms of technology and Google Classroom as their main source of learning. They have shown innovation by being the first group of students to take the PSSA test online, especially without any formal typing instruction. These 6th grade students deserve better. They have already been challenged in their early education, so why are you all as a board not doing something quickly for this group of students? 2 of the 4 ELA teachers in 6th grade are new to the team. How do you expect them to collaborate and find materials when their time is already stretched thin? How do these teachers know where and what to pull as credible resources that are valuable for my sons and his peers' learning? How are you ensuring that the teachers confidently know the skills that need to be taught with an approved resource? How do you expect the vocabulary words being taught in isolation to be a valid resource? How do you expect these teachers to prepare to teach students critical comprehension skills to prepare for the PSSA without a resource? I want to make it clear that I stand with the teachers. It is the lack of resources that are provided to them that is disheartening. Having no current resources is greatly impacting students' performance, not to mention putting the district at risk.
15 seconds.
Because teachers are going to have to end up pirating materials for multiple resources to make a gap in our student learning. We must do better for our students and teachers. We must make this a priority this school year. We need to equip our teachers with the appropriate materials to ensure that the district mission of focus on learning for every student is met every day.
Next, Ann Myers, and following her is Jennifer Buse.
Hello, Ann Myers, Valley View Drive. I have one student in the district, a fourth grader at Eden Hall. I am here to express my continued support for our teachers. Our students' success is a direct result of the hard work and dedication of these educators. They make this a top-tier school district. Yet today, these same teachers have been working for 78 days without a contract. They are simply asking for what other comparable school districts are already providing. These requests are not unreasonable, and in fact, they are essential to maintaining the high standards of education our district is known for. It's time to prioritize the staff who work most directly with our students and ensure that they are supported both financially and professionally. This prolonged negotiation process and the uncertainty that comes with it is creating more unnecessary stress for our teachers. They are scared, you are the cause, and they are still, despite everything, working tirelessly to make this district a success. Stop micromanaging our teachers, listen to them instead, show them the respect and support they deserve. It is time to give them the contract they've earned. I also would like to say, as a testament to the teachers, I've seen a lot of kids here, a lot of the high school students walking the halls saying, "What are you so excited to see the teachers?" If that's not a testament to a good teacher, I don't know what is. Thank you.
Next, Jennifer Buse. Following her is Rebecca Hoffman.
Hi, Jennifer Buse. I live in Richland. I have 3 kids still in the district and 1 recent graduate. I appreciated the finance governance meeting and learned about the common level ratio. I'm still a little confused why that is so concerning, considering the earned income tax has increased by $927,000. At the same time, the CLR revenues decreased by $369,000. It's like a more than 200% increase, it seems, unless I misread that. We are able to continue to increase our fund balance while doing capital improvements, and I tend to agree with the teachers that I don't value an increased capital fund balance when we don't have an appropriate teacher contract. I support our teachers, the ones in the green shirts who filled the auditorium at Richland Elementary over the summer, and the ones who are here tonight. If you support the teachers, please stop demonizing the PREA union. They need sufficient planning time. They need reduced class sizes, and they need to be paid their worth. Arriving unprepared to negotiations. Now that is not a surprise from what I see here publicly, but it sure is disappointing for contract negotiations. And I have a question about the counseling staff. They spent countless hours contacting K-6 families to opt them into counseling. Opting into existing counseling supports is not data-driven, was not recommended by admin or our counselors, yet the board forced this issue and spent money for counseling staff to track down kids, which clearly could have been better spent pushing into our K-6 classrooms to talk about the safety concerns this week, rather than kids talking about it through the grapevine. I was looking at the board strategic plan goals, the Principles for Governance and Leadership, Code 011, and the first for plan thoughtfully is allocate resources to effectively impact student success. And that is completely lacking with this board. The 6th grade ELA has already been mentioned. They have no legit current resource to use, and there are 2 new teachers. That's unacceptable. The 9th grade ELA, they don't have an updated core reading book, Angel of Greenwood, because you've neglected to bring it to a vote. And then
15
I'm
seconds.
gonna finish. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Next is Rebecca Hoffman. Following her is Joel Hurt.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Hoffman. I have 4 kids still in the district and 1 graduate. Today I'm thinking about what's a measure of fair pay for teachers. We could compare to what others are paid nearby or in similar districts. We could compare to what they're currently paid, or we could shoot for the moon and ponder what they are worth to our families, our community, and our future society. Since it's election season in our country, even my elementary age kids are hearing ads on YouTube about the cost of groceries and how much more they are now than in 2019. Without delving into the nuanced reasons why things cost more as a result of a global pandemic, we recognize that they do. I think our teachers cost more too. They worked hard during uncertain times. They learned all sorts of new technology and reconfigured their lesson plans to be taught virtually. Some of them sacrificed their health to show up for our kids. None of that was included in the pay levels negotiated in their last contract. And let's be clear, learning all those new things wasn't easy. I end up calling my kids for tech support every time I try to do something new. Engaging a bunch of 5-year-olds who are squares on a screen distracted by whatever is happening in their house is a different skill set than connecting in a classroom. Overnight, they adapted to meet the challenge that they were presented with. And it's not like that new technology was a phase and it's over. We are still benefiting daily from what they taught themselves in the midst of chaos. We are offered to attend meetings virtually rather than take off work and drive places. Some kids have access to instructional videos recorded in 2020 that they can watch if they don't understand a lesson. Not hearing some random person on the internet, but their own teacher using the same phrasing that they used in class. I've been noticing the ways that our teachers do more than what's required. Things that I've taken for granted because it's the way it's always been. I've realized that they are gifts to us. Meeting your new teacher at Find Your Classroom Day makes a big difference to levels of anxiety for the first day of school, but that's not a work day. Answering an email late in the evening or over a weekend allows a student to finish their homework or go to bed confident in their plans for the next school day. But those aren't work hours. Showing up for concerts and performances and games makes students feel special and valued. But those aren't work events. Offering to meet before or after school to problem solve a situation means that the student or family gets the resolution they need. But those aren't student-facing hours. Anytime that the teachers do extra and prioritize our kids, they are giving up family time or free time or preparation time or sleep. We are fortunate to have teachers who are willing to do those things for our benefit. Ignoring the fact that our teachers have been disrespected and challenged and demoralized over the last few years locally and globally, which would make any reasonable person think, I deserve a raise to put up
15
with
seconds.
this crap. Ignoring that, our teachers deserve a raise for adapting to an upside-down world and doing everything we asked of them to ensure our students kept learning. They deserve a raise for consistently prioritizing the needs of our students. Our kids don't know what's happening in the drama of grown-up world. They just know that their teacher calls out their name, greets them with a smile, and high-fives them, and makes learning fun and engaging. We all lose if they decide they can't keep doing this job.
Next is Joel Hurt, followed by Mike Barber.
Good evening, Joel Hurt, Legion Drive. I think we can all agree that our teachers are really great at what they do. Others have talked passionately about it tonight and last meeting, and I couldn't agree more with everything they've said. But what I didn't know is that our teachers are actually getting paid less than teachers in almost all our neighboring school districts. According to the Department of Education's website, last school year, the average salary for Pine-Richland teachers was less than North Allegheny and Fox Chapel, less than Seneca Valley and Hampton, less than Shaler, less than Deer Lakes. And my question for the school board is, why? Why can't we pay our teachers as well as NA or Hampton or Seneca Valley? Why aren't we already paying our teachers as well as Shaler and Deer Lakes? It's not because the district's finances are bad, because they're great. I mean, really great. Better than all those other districts. Our debt is manageable. Our property tax is the 5th lowest in the county. Our last tax increase was in 2017, and because of that modest 2% increase, we've built up a $36 million surplus in the general fund, and that's on top, I believe, of another $10 million in the capital projects fund. We had the money to give raises to our administrators and administrative staff, for a $400,000 planetarium, and for a new scoreboard. We have the money to give our teachers competitive salaries and benefits. There's been a lot of talk about the common level ratio, but I think we need to keep some perspective. There's $3.5 billion in assessed property value in the district. Because of the CLR dispute, that's gone down by about 15 million. That's less than 0.5%. It's already addressed in the current budget, and we still had an operational surplus of almost $1 million. To the extent it's an issue in future years, we are in fantastic financial shape to deal with it. It is not in any way a valid excuse to pay our teachers less than they deserve. It's been suggested that these negotiations aren't unique, or that it's like 2012 to 2014, the last time our teachers worked without a contract and authorized a strike. But it's really not like 2012. We were in much worse financial shape then. The board had to raise taxes by 8% in 2010, raise them again in 2012, raise them again in 2013. Our bond rating had just been cut. There were painful conversations about cutting programs or eliminating staff services. None of that is happening today. None of it.
15 seconds.
This should be more like 2018. Those negotiations were respectful, collaborative, and led to a 6-year contract both sides were happy with. And not to put too fine a point on it, but those negotiations involved the same union representatives and the same administrators. The only thing that was different was the makeup of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Barber, followed by Bree Bear. Bree Bear.
Dr. Miller, thank you for your leadership. Dr. J and Dr. P, as always, thank you for your leadership as well. One thing I, as a parent, appreciate is Dr. Miller is an extremely demanding superintendent. He adds layers to the expectations that he places on our outstanding staff, and he pushes them to fulfill what they are capable of. And if you spend time with our children in the classrooms and in the schools, you can see that it stresses the teachers out, I would imagine, those high demands, but at the same time, it pushes them to achieve unimaginable goals, my children included. The added layers to being a PR teacher are squarely shouldered by our teachers. They shouldered it through the COVID chaos. The teachers continue to competently shoulder that weight despite the board majority repeatedly and routinely undercutting their value and professionalism. We are able to fund a number of capital improvements on the backs of our teachers' devotion to our children and the extra work they are asked to put in, and that they do put in. Invest in our children through investing in the people who literally hold our children's educations in their hands every day. The PREA released a statement, and I'm going to read some of the points. None of the union's proposals would require a tax increase. The district can be fiscally responsible and still agree with what teachers are asking for at the table. Despite not having raised taxes in more than 7 years, PRSD has a very large fund balance of $36,386,163. How do they continue to grow their fund balance if they're not raising local taxes? The district's fund balance increases partly by reducing staff and cutting spending on services that directly benefit our students. PREA's proposals given to the district are fair, reasonable, and in line with similarly situated school districts. Everything we propose is data-driven and done in good faith that the common goal is to reach an agreement. PREA represents what a majority of staff wants, what parents believe we deserve, and what the results dictate. We are simply asking that our contract reflect what other comparable districts ranked below us have in terms of salary, retirement, health care, and working conditions. Our teachers work hard and deserve it. Pay them what they're worth.
Next speaker is Bree Bear, followed by Stacy Coons.
Hello, Bree Bear, Richland Road. As we sit here tonight after another unsuccessful round of contract negotiations, I'd like to remind our board why they won't be given the benefit of the doubt they've requested and why the community absolutely has reasons to be concerned about the way this process and others are playing out. At this table, we have a board member who openly spoken about the need to push conservative values in our public education system, who started their own conservative organization to counter the nonpartisan PA School Board Association, and a board that then voted for this person to continue to represent our district at the PA SBA. We have board members that have dismissed the need for DEI training and education despite the recent racist homecoming proposal and despite current students experiencing racial slurs at school. We have a president who embarrassingly read explicit passages out of context at the pools to scare community members into thinking high school library books were being taught to young kids. These are not values that support our students or our district. These moves have been ideological and politically driven from the very beginning. So no, you don't get the benefit of the doubt that you're operating in good faith with contract negotiations or anything else for that matter, as you've shown your true intentions time and time again. Based on past behavior, it's clear that we're about to see the same thing with the library policy as we did with the book review process. This move was inevitable even before the dust settled from that fiasco, where you gave yourselves more say than the committee that actually read the books and critically discussed them. You did this, and yet nowhere did you require yourselves to have actually read the damn book before getting a vote to remove it forever from our kids' library shelves. I don't doubt that we're about to watch the same play occur. You'll give yourselves final say on book acquisitions with no requirement that you've critically considered their potential values to our students, to all of our students, allowing yourselves to toss aside the expertise and guidance of our trained librarians. You'll revisit the definition of age appropriate and determine that you alone are somehow better able to define this for every student in the district. And because your actions to date hardly scream tolerance and acceptance for all, we'll watch you feign concern over book titles that just coincidentally feature persons of color or members of the LGBTQ community. I hope that some of you will give pause to this insatiable need for power. Do you really find it appropriate to get to veto the thoughtful, educated input of our librarians? Can you honestly say that you'll give the same weight to these decisions as they will? How are these actions actually helping our kids? Let's try focusing on real issues, like our average class sizes being well above the state average, like the impact of school shootings and threats on students' mental health, like our teachers working 78 days with an expired contract. You cannot enjoy the benefits of living in a top-tier district without appropriately paying the staff that made it so. We have some of the lowest taxes in the area. Our district is ranked 4th locally. Our pay is not. The math is simple. If you want to retain the staff that made the district what it is, you have to pay accordingly. I recently attended 5th grade teacher night and was taken aback at how
15
genuinely
seconds.
passionate his teachers are. Shout out to Mr. Connor and Mrs. Shockling. You could feel how much they truly care. This is why we're so thankful to have moved to this district. This is why it's so upsetting to see the board continually move against supporting them. Our teachers are exceptional. We are lucky to have them, and we are nothing without them. Pay
Thank
them
you.
what they're worth.
Next is Stacy Coons, followed by Katie Postrich.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Coons. I teach at Deer Lakes, actually, and am very proud to do so. I've taught there for 26 years since it was mentioned. I get paid what I deserve because of the hard work that I put in, so I wish these teachers would get paid the same as me, even though I'm in a very small district compared to them, but I live in Richland Township. I am always proud of my junior in high school and my 6th grader. And I just wanted to say that being an ELA teacher, I have gained critical, analytical reading skills. And I don't know if this is absolutely true, but what I can gather from what I have heard about negotiations is I've only heard that a raise has been offered, and that's it. And these teachers deserve more than just a raise, because teachers don't go into this profession just for the money. There is no teachers union in the Commonwealth who would agree to anything if it were just a raise. If there is nothing about number of students in a classroom, if there is nothing about a number of preps, if there is nothing about health insurance or anything else, if the only thing that is being negotiated is about a raise, that is not a negotiation. They deserve everything that they are asking for because of how hard they work. And I know that a district is only as good as the teachers it has in it. It needs good leaders, which we have in the administration, but the teachers make all of the plans actually happen because they're the ones who carry everything out. And I think if people in this district are not willing to give teachers what they deserve, then it is the epitome of the definition of hypocrisy. If you expect your kids to be taken care of when they go into school, how can you not take care of the people who are taking care of them? And although I respect you, I need to turn my back on you just for a few seconds, and it's not in disrespect. My daughter wants to be a teacher because of all of you. She's in 11th grade, and it's not because of me, it's because of what she has seen from all of you. She has loved you as my son has loved you, and I appreciate everything that you have done for them and all of my neighbors' kids and all of my friends' kids.
15 seconds.
And respectfully, Dr. Miller, I think instead of the "we can do hard things" slogan, I think it should be changed to "we continually and always do hard things." Thank you so much.
Katie Postrich. Following Ms. Postrich is Brittany Kindersmith.
Hi, Katie Postrich. My husband and I have lived in the district for 22 years. We have kids now in 3 grades, 6th, 8th, and 10th. While me and my wallet truly appreciate living in a district with the lowest millage rate for real estate taxes, we were fortunate enough to buy a house, $117,000 with 10 acres in Pine Township when we moved here 22 years ago. Impossible these days, right? So we do appreciate the taxes. However, it does make me question just how our tax dollars are truly being used to better my community and my school. The low tax rate is appealing to homeowners, obviously. That brings more people to us. I hear of projects and how our schools are ranked so highly in the state, both academically and being financially sound. That also brings people to our community. There are new businesses popping up. That also brings more tax dollars in. So why on earth is there a $36 million plus fund balance and over 300 plus PREA members begging for better wages, better classroom ratio, improved prep time? Why can we not increase their pay to be more competitive with local districts? Why can't we hire enough teachers so that the class size can mimic the state averages of 19 to 25 for K to 3 and 24 to 29 at 4 to 6? Instead, we have 19 to 25 and 24 to 29, respectively, in this great Pine-Richland school district. Good benefits are appealing, but benefits don't pay the electric bills. Obviously, no one wants to pay more in taxes, and obviously we all worry about our retired individuals or anyone living on fixed incomes in our community and how taxes will affect them. But it sounds like these negotiations could likely be solved without a tax increase at this time. If we don't have a district ranking high above everyone else, why are people going to want to move here? Many move here because of the schools, so growth should indeed be part of our plan. The department that I work in schedules weekly administrative time for their medical providers, time to catch up on emails, calls, paperwork, etc., through the week to make it a more productive and satisfying position. I'm lucky enough to work in the top-ranked UPMC department based on all the Prescaney pulls and everything else. Why? Because we're satisfied. Of course, it always seems it's still not quite enough, but it sure is better than where I came from and never had any extra time to do anything. 30 minutes of prep time that teachers get is not enough. That can be just one string of emails or one phone call, depending on the situation. What about the organization of IEPs and 504s, making sure every child is getting the attention they need to be successful in their classroom? What about making sure that parent requests for their children are being attended to, making sure the kids are learning what they need as well? Have the K to 6 kids been able to have a small 30-minute reprieve in their day with the first few weeks so counselors could stop in and introduce themselves along with a brief feel-good lesson? My best guess is no, since they were still asking for opt-in answers last week at teacher Meet the Teacher night. Thank you again to all of our staff.
Following Ms. Kindersmith is Jess Horner.
Hi, Brittany Kindersmith, Richland Township. I'm here to discuss the ongoing contract negotiations as they relate to the finance information we were just presented with in the joint governance meeting. The statements put out by the board have placed the onus for the delay in signing a new contract on the teachers and the union. But I believe that the problem lies with you. As someone who spends a lot of time in one of our district's elementary schools, something none of the board members can say, I am exposed daily to the outcomes of the lean staffing model employed by the district. This model has resulted in our gate teachers having to be shared amongst buildings, our art teachers shared amongst buildings, our music teachers shared amongst buildings. Our teachers are covering other classes during their prep periods, and while some staff volunteer for this and all are given ancillary pay when it happens, when no one volunteers, the staff are mandated to cover these classes on a rotating basis. Did you all know that? Do you talk to them? Which means that these teachers must complete their class prep on their own time. So is the financial health of the district due to the hard work of the board and the administration, or due to the incredible people sitting behind me bearing the burden of these financial decisions? If they have borne the brunt of allowing the district to move into a more financially healthy position, when will they be rewarded for this? How is continuing to deny their requests for reasonable classroom sizes showing our staff that they are valued? These are the same staff, mind you, that came into work last week on Thursday and Friday when the district was operating under intense safety concerns. I asked around, and as best I can tell, there were no more call-offs than normal, because these people are amazing. They came to school scared so that my kids wouldn't be. They came to school when many families opted to keep their own children home. They came to school. They did the same during COVID. They are the ones making sure the district keeps true to its motto, learning for every student every day. And yet you disparage their very valid compensation requests and act as though carrying a fund balance of more than $30 million is acceptable while our teachers are showing up in droves asking to be valued for their expertise. During the finance meeting, it was discussed that the previous millage increase raised taxes on property by $38 per $100,000 in assessed value. So let's think about a home valued at $400,000. That's an increase of $152 annually, which spread out over 12 months of mortgage payments would add $1,260 per month per household. It's a pretty small price to pay for our ratios to not be 1 to 29. Fix this now. Quit laying the blame at the feet of others. Hold yourselves as accountable.
15 seconds.
Hold yourselves as accountable as you've been holding the staff throughout all of the senseless curriculum micromanagement that you've engaged in. Thank you.
Jess Horner. Is Jess Horner here? Dawn Augustine?
Hello, my name is Dawn Augustine, mother of 3. I live in Richland Township. My daughter and I talk a lot about, everything going on in the world, and of course, the contract negotiations and everything came up in conversation, and she really wanted to address the board as a student, but there's no way she would get in front of a microphone, so she wrote it for me, so I am going to read this for her. I really appreciate all the counselors in Pine-Richland. My middle school counselor, Ms. Millay, especially helped me so much throughout the years. The things she taught me really helped me through the transition from 6th to 7th grade. Without the help she provided, I would not have had the same happy stories to tell from my middle school years. Even last year in high school, the lessons I was taught during these classes helped me for taking big tests. The presentations helped me to learn to study better and handle stress, which was needed last week especially. In 2nd grade, the second most embarrassing thing happened to me in school. If it wasn't for my teacher, it would have been the first. It is everyday things like this that show how dedicated these teachers are. I ask you to take how valuable they are to the students into consideration during contract negotiations. Thank you. I also wanted just to address, as a mother of a current 6th grader, I am really disheartened that the ELA curriculum, with the issue, and I just feel like there's no excuse for it. My child deserves better. Oh yeah, and then the 6th grade meet the teacher night was a little bit awkward when they were talking about the ELA. But I want to say, if you didn't fully know everything that was going on, the teachers handled it seamlessly because they are total rock stars. Thank you.
Jess Horner, did I see you walking here? Following Jess is Katie Vaught.
Sorry, I didn't hear you say my name before. I want to start by simply saying how much I support the teachers here at Pine-Richland. My daughter is a senior this year, and she has been in the district since kindergarten. She is also a student with an IEP. Besides being a parent, I'm also a building substitute teacher here in the district. I see firsthand how much work these teachers put in day in and day out, including often staying hours after the students go home. I want to use learning support teachers as an example. Most of them have multiple GPS periods a day, class periods a day. Many of them co-teach multiple class periods also. They have dozens of IEPs and 504s to write and paperwork to do. Some of them even teach Wilson and other intervention classes multiple times a day. Simply, without these amazing teachers, I truly believe Pine-Richland would not be ranked as a top-tier school in the school district that it is in the Pittsburgh area. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Vaught. Following her is Ben Dumbald.
Hi, my name is Katie Vogt. I am a Pine Township resident, and I have a 3rd grader at Wexford and an Eden Hall 6th grader. My 3rd grader at Wexford, I checked her green folder this morning. She is number 21 in her homeroom. We are V, last name, V is in Victor, so that means there's probably more than 21. We're number 24 in math. More than 24 3rd graders in a math class? Come on. These are way above state averages. Why is a district that is above state averages in test scores and results and rankings have some of the highest ratios? That's not fair to the kids. We need to stop and think about that as we're doing these contract negotiations. And please, come to the table prepared. Come ready to make some choices. And they may not be what you personally want, but it might be what's right for the students at Pine-Richland. Thank you to the board members that spoke up at the last meeting in support of process in revising the library policy. This is an endeavor that should absolutely involve extensive communications and input from our librarians and our administrators that are qualified and experienced in reviewing a policy of this nature. Now to address the 6th grade curriculum that was voted down at one of the prior meetings, in which there has been no further action to put some resources in place for our 6th graders. What are we supposed to do as parents if we don't have online resources? How am I supposed to help a 6th grader that does need help at home quite often? I didn't know until tonight that we have 2 new teachers in 6th grade that have not taught this curriculum before. I cannot imagine how they are doing their jobs. They're probably relying a lot on their coworkers who are going above and beyond, again, as their teachers do all the time, to help support and get them up to speed so that our students, hopefully, are getting the education they deserve. Finally, I just would like to say I also support the guidance counselors. I am very aware of the incredible amount of work they put in last year and probably all summer long to prepare lessons, to prepare information for this board, who now, we now have to do an opt-in. So I've heard it's going well, and we have many students opting into those great lessons. Thank you.
Following Mr. Dumbald is Allison Duncan.
Hi, my name is Ben Dumbald. I'm a parent of a 6th grader at Eaton Hall, and I'd just like to carry a bit of what the previous speaker said. If any of you have had 6th grade boys, you know things change when you're in 6th grade and going into 7th grade. There's more distraction, and as parents, I need to be closer to him, work more closely with him to make sure he succeeds at school. And without a curriculum to help me with ELA, it makes my job as a parent much more difficult in helping my son succeed. What else I want to say brings me absolutely no joy in breaching this subject matter. And I feel it's necessary, though, to fully appreciate what teachers do. The recent mass shooting in Georgia and the subsequent threats here at Pine-Richland last week offer a grim reminder of what is at stake in being a teacher in the United States of America. According to the Borough County Sheriff, the death toll in Georgia would have been much worse if it were not for the 26 teachers who with cool heads notified authorities. The reality today is that teachers have become first responders. This isn't the job they signed up for, and I pray to God this isn't the job they will ever have to carry out. Yet now it is the job we all expect of them. In the face of shooting threats to schools, parents are confronted with the heartbreaking decision of whether or not to keep their children at home. And yet, we naturally assume teachers will be there in the classroom, whatever decision we make. In the wake of the frightening threats that occurred this week, and I want to thank the administration for being so transparent and so quick to communicate about those. It was a huge relief to many parents. Regardless, every teacher would have been justified in staying home that day, and yet they were in the classroom ready to teach. Like our police officers, teachers are tasked at keeping our children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews safe. During contract negotiations, I kindly ask board members to remember who sits at the other side of the bargaining table. Members of our community who are not only tasked at educating Pine-Richland children every day, but also ensuring no harm comes to them. People like that deserve all the support they can get. Thank you.
Following Ms. Duncan will be Donna Azar.
Hi, my name is Allison Duncan. I live at 134 Tanglewood Drive, and I have 2 Pine-Richland alumni from the class of 2020 and the class of 2022. I want to go back to the last meeting. I want to talk about blame. At the last meeting, the board spent 20 minutes discussing management of personal records. Mrs. Brisalis suggested the need to have a point person or 2 to be in charge. This is not a bad thing necessarily, but her reason that she stated twice was not to make management work better, but so the board would know who to blame when there's a problem. The board also spent at least 20 minutes trying to figure out who to blame for a problem with the scoreboard construction. That's one situation that demonstrates that sometimes things just happen. Sometimes no one is really at fault. But there's one situation where fault is clear. You, the board, are fully to blame for creating a negative, demoralizing environment for Pine-Richland's teachers, counselors, and librarians. You have created the problem, and you will be held accountable if we lose our talented teachers. It's time for the board to acknowledge your role in the failed contract negotiations. Because of your treatment of teachers, no, we do not trust you to negotiate fairly. Pay our teachers what they're worth, update resources, and stop screwing around with our kids' freedom to read and learn.
After Ms. Azar will be Joe Murhut.
Hello, my name's Donna Azar, and I have 2 children at Eden Hall. So kind of touching on what another community member said, I have so many concerns. One of them is school shootings. Thinking about someone maybe threatening our school or whatever, there have been 47 school shootings this year, 417 since Columbine in 1999. I have a master's degree in organizational leadership. In leadership, the leader sets the tone for the culture of the organization. What is this leadership? What is the tone here? Because I'm not sure. You cut DEI, SEL, things that foster empathy, things that foster belonging, teaching essential life skills. By cutting these programs, we've undermined the foundation of our schools. So at the end of the day, it's like we're taking away mental health things that could help our kids and students, so potentially this doesn't happen to us at our school. And I think about the teachers showing up. I just can't even imagine how that must feel as a teacher. They show up every day for our kids. They love our kids. My kids are here tonight, and they didn't even have enough time to hug all the teachers that made a difference in their lives. I'm just so frustrated. I feel like everything we say falls on deaf ears. I've been here so many times. I should be at home with my special needs son working on his reading, but I'm here. The district's focus on operational efficiency has led to significant staff reduction and increased workloads of our teachers. This has not only impacted our teachers' well-being, but also compromised our students' learning experiences. Despite these challenges, our teachers have consistently demonstrated their unwavering commitment to our students and their education. The negotiations, they have been diligently working towards a fair agreement, but the negotiations have been unnecessarily drawn out. I don't know why. It's time the district demonstrate their commitment to the teachers and our staff by agreeing to a contract that reflects the values they bring to our community. And can we talk about the paras? Why do they only make $15 an hour? My mother's helper, who I pay to help me do chores, makes $30 an hour. Why are paras, who are so essential to helping support our students that need support? Please pay the teachers
15
more
seconds.
money, please. Reduce the class sizes, honestly. You cannot do your best trying to deal with all these things going on. Please, we're begging you, please. Set the
Thank you.
leadership that's gonna instill your legacy. Thank you.
Our last speaker is Joe Murhut.
Is that the last one?
Good evening. I'm not here to talk about contracts, but I am here to bring some perspective. I've been in the district for 52 years. I live in Richland Township on Anderson Road. 3 graduates, and eventually 2 of my grandkids will be here. But yesterday we had a huge celebration. If you recall, on December 23rd, one of our students, Jonathan Torney, was killed in a car accident. He's my next door neighbor. He was like a son to me. So we had the first inaugural Jonathan Torney Forever Young 5K walk run. I got there at 6 a.m. pulling my tractor and my covered trailer. And as I came into the boathouse at North Park, 35 Pine-Richland varsity football players waiting to set everything up. The cheerleaders, the chorus, the band. I mean, there were all these kids. It just blew me away. We had over 500 participants in this race. I actually emceed the event, which I'm a public speaker, so they asked me to do that, and it went off wonderfully. But the perspective that I wanted to bring was there were multiple teachers, multiple coaches, multiple personnel from Pine-Richland School District spending their Sunday morning celebrating the life of a beautiful soul. It was wonderful. These teachers, you know, I know you're dealing with a contract right now. They do much more than just what the classrooms, you know, is. I was so proud to be part of Pine-Richland yesterday, and I told them that I would not want to live anywhere else. I would not want to send my kids to any other school district. And my 2 daughters who have children now live in this school district. And they will send their kids, if I have anything to say about it, they will send their kids to this school district. Folks, let's get this done. Let's negotiate fairly. Let's pay the people what they're worth. Hey, I'm a conservative, but I still believe that teachers need to be paid well. So really think about that. And I thank you for your time, and thanks for getting me on before the meeting starts. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to everyone who kept their comments kind of brief. We got everybody in, so that was great. Okay, thank you. Item 1.03, Mrs. Williams, correspondence.
The following people emailed the board regarding the teacher's contract: Megan Veed, Kimberly Watton, Kim Pearson and Mark Tambury, Eric Hansen, Carrie Kastner-Mowry, as well as school safety, Stephanie Hurt, Mara and Vern Smith, Leela Bennick, Brianna Bear, as well as the library policy, Brittany Kindersmith, Mike Barber. The following people emailed the board: Therese Dawson regarding the library materials policy, Autumn Wentworth regarding school safety, and Annie Bazilla regarding school safety.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Item 1.04, a motion is a motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, item 2.01 is an information item, instructional strategies and future focus financial planning. I'm going to kick that over to Dr. Miller.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So we want to spend a few moments on two of our strategic initiatives and give the opportunity for the board to ask any questions or follow up. So the first one, again, instructionally, we have been talking about curriculum instruction and assessment for a long time. This year, end of last year and beginning of this year, that idea of alignment, time, and feedback is something that I know that we've discussed with the board. We've had questions about it. We've talked about, through the Academic Achievement and Growth Report, how do we take results from assessments, various types of assessments, and how do they lead to what we do with students and what students are expected to know and be able to do in the classroom. So we wanted to just give a brief highlight. Again, at a high level, the board has heard that alignment, time, and feedback. Dr. Pasquinelli and Dr. Justice will share just a few examples of what does that look like at a building or in a classroom or in a department.
Okay, we're going to begin with the elementary level and speak a little bit about what happened there. But from a higher level, I wanted to just mention that all the planning that goes into these in-services is done collaboratively. So it's administrators, academic leadership council members, teacher leaders throughout the district working together to get those sessions planned. And then when delivered effectively, we get excellent results. And that's what we saw from the first 3 days of this school year in terms of launching things. So we're really proud of the work we've done. We get a lot of great qualitative feedback from the participants to help guide, the direction of things from there as well. So because I was fortunate enough to be at Eden Hall as one of the administrative liaisons, SLT divides up and assists at each building so that we can be integrated into the learning that we're experiencing in each of those sites. I had the opportunity to sit in on the instructional strategy sessions that Mrs. Brizo led as the principal at Eden Hall. The team, the entire building, was divided up into several smaller groups so that they could experience these station rotations in a more effective manner and really be able to interact. And Mrs. Brizo vulnerably taught and modeled a math lesson, and she had prepared 2 different lesson plans so that we could see really effective strategies that help guide differentiation for students, as well as something that would be more bare bones, but it would also integrate the standards. And so the teachers were able to pause, interact with the materials as a student. She modeled really great strategies in terms of engagement with mathematics and underscored those standards of math practice. There are 8 overarching skills that the students should master K through 12. And they, for instance, in her lesson, making sense of problems and persevering and solving them, modeling with mathematics, using appropriate tools strategically. So she demonstrated how we could do that with fractions, had the teachers engaged as if they were students, kind of breaking down visual fraction images that they could see. So it would be either a square divided into equal parts or a pie graph, and they were shaded in various ways, and they had to make some observations about what they were seeing, and they could be different. There are many different things that you could observe about them, but it all led into the way in which they would be getting into comparative fractions and understanding the manners in which you could actually equate them and how you could use modeling to do that. So it was a really excellent session, again, not just in my view, but in the rating view that the teachers submitted after that and the feedback that they put into kind of the praise of the preparation of it, and then also the understanding of, you know, what could we take back into our own classrooms to really use the instructional time effectively and provide adequate feedback to the students throughout the process, because there were multiple checks, modeling of problems on the board, groups collaborating. It was just really an awesome experience, and to see 3 different rotations of teachers come through that and what they were able to gain and hear the discussions around teaching, you know, and really effective learning strategies was just awesome. That's not to say that amazing things didn't happen at the other K-3 buildings. They were just as great. I was able to speak with the principals around the ways in which they engaged their staff, but in the interest of high-level overview of what happened, we wanted to make sure that you understood that. And moving on to within K6, obviously we have departmental time or grade level time. So we often organize ourselves into grade levels because at K3, the teachers are teaching all 4 core content areas. Our special areas will meet K12 during that time. And then we also have grade level looks at each of those different discipline areas. And so I spent my time again with the 6th grade, actually, science, while Mrs. Berizzo's with 6th grade ELA, thinking about resource integration. So in terms of the STEEL standards and knowing that we need to be instructing with phenomenon-based science lessons now, as opposed to kind of reading a chapter in a book, understanding it and being given the information, how can you really analyze a phenomenon, which is super engaging, right? If you're able to look at something and try to understand how it works, then you remember that content better and you're able to apply it in different ways. And so we took time to do that. Later on this evening, I'll give you a more in-depth update on what we're doing with 6th grade and how we're kind of bolstering the earth and space instruction there. But I will mention too that within ELA, Mrs. Berizzo stepped in to really help them look at the written curriculum that we have. We are using the Wonders resource that we have in place, along with Freckle ELA novels and poetry units that have been designed in the past. And we're making sure that we are aligned and that we're looking at the standards and ensuring that that instruction is happening the best way that it can. And through our professional learning communities, they will have a focal point on that throughout the year to really be able to touch base and work towards identification of potential resources as we will renew that review process. And obviously we're working in tandem, grades 6 through 9 within ELA as we had last year. Within social studies, K through 5, this is the first year that they're implementing the impact resource to help bolster the curriculum and deliver the content that is reflected in the standards. And our teachers, particularly at the primary level, are really taking a look at mapping those social studies and ELA integration opportunities. So if we're talking in social studies about community helpers and different jobs around the community, there are stories within the ELA curriculum and Wonders as a resource that really dovetail together and make it a more rich discussion for the students. And so the teachers took time not only to deepen all the implementation, again, we'll speak about later on, with Hegarty, 95% group and the new Wonders resource that began last year, but then taking the new social studies resource as well and pulling those together in a meaningful way. So kudos to the staff for what they've done in putting all that together, and a huge thank you as well to the ALCs for helping to plan all of that. Dr. P.
We'll pause there for a second. Any comments or questions for Dr. J? Okay, I just thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about feedback, you know, as we talked about alignment time and feedback. And there's secondary examples, but I think across K to 12, that is definitely areas of focus for us. Most associate assessments with tests, you know, end of chapter, end of course tests, but the reality is teachers are constantly gathering information about kids to provide them with feedback. This is the time of year that we're conducting what are called our benchmark assessments. Those are really end of course assessments that are given to students, and it gives teachers the insight into the strengths and weakness of their current students, which is important because these are the students obviously that they can make adjustments to immediately, as opposed to end of course assessments, which are like our PSSA, our Keystone exams, our AP exams. We get good information from those assessments, but those students have moved on. So the key to providing our teachers with the data with those benchmarks allows them to make those ongoing adjustments. So right now at the middle school and high school, they're getting into their data meetings where this is time for teachers to get together that have common information, that's the assessment data, to determine, what are appropriate next steps to provide their students with that feedback to make appropriate adjustments on the fly, meaning like right now. So we're not waiting until end of course, it's happening in the moment. And that collaboration has been a big thing for us. It's a little bit easier at the middle school for collaboration because of the structure of the day. The high school has more challenges, so typically that's teachers being pulled out of classes to get together and spend time together. But we're seeing positive impact on that. Again, that is opportunities for teachers to refine curriculum, modify instructional strategies, make appropriate adjustments together, and then take those things directly into the classroom that are impacting students immediately. When we get to academic achievement and growth report, we're really excited about how our students achieved last year on their Keystone exams. That's across algebra, literature, and biology. You're going to see those results. We do not have our growth results yet from PVOS, but they will be coming. In terms of our AP students, we had more students taking AP exams, more students finding success on those exams. We had, I think, 500 students participate in taking at least one or more exams. Of those 500, 420 scored a 3 or better. So that's just outstanding results that we're seeing from the impact, again, that all that feedback and learning that's happening over the course of the school year. Middle school, their data teams are a little bit different. They're focused on PSSA courses, ELA, math, and science. Same concept, though, getting together and talking about strategies to support their kids literally on the fly so they can get right back and make those adjustments as they go. In terms of department focus, every single department, K to 12, is in in-depth program review implementation phase. So they are making those strategic changes across every department. We're in the light version now. We shared that last year. Science completed it. Our health and physical education teachers are in that process this year. But just a couple of real-world examples of how it impacts students. The world language recommendation to get students in world language earlier is happening. So now our 6th grade program has changed. As a result, this is our first year for the 7th grade modification for world language. Our teachers are making adjustments for the 8th grade curriculum for next year, so those students will then follow that path. And we're also working on those honors courses that we talked about that are level 2 courses that we currently do not offer, but through the program review, we've got those recommendations. The big one for social studies we've talked about is the civics course, brand new civics government course coming out for the 25-26 school year. The curriculum's ready. This year we'll be reviewing resources. The curriculum will be available for the board prior to the program of studies to review, but excited about having that because then again we'll have a different path for students based upon the study that came out of social studies. And Dr. J mentioned again, the big thing for science is around STEELS integration. That's phenomenon-based, inquiry-based learning activities, and that's really where our science teachers are focused. So a lot of great things happening. Feedback-focused, rich environment is really what we've been talking about.
Any questions on that one?
No, but thank you very much. It was a lot of information you gave us. It was great.
And in terms of the second key initiative, we obviously spent time at joint governance, but I would say there are so many details in budgeting and financial planning. I think the bigger challenge is to keep some of the big ideas clear. The clearer they are, the better we're able to then engage in other conversations about how day-to-day the district operates. So we spent time this evening talking about revenue. Next time we will spend time on expenditures. Again, we talked a little bit about some of those things that are changing in the environment. And for Pine-Richland, that is primarily the common level ratio as a part of Allegheny County. So that's something for us to be aware of. And again, we'll talk about all sorts of other components in the months ahead. Any further follow-ups to that?
Okay. Item 3, finance, Mr. Kashani.
Okay, so item 3.01 is a motion to approve the financial reports dated July 31st, 2024, unaudited, Fund 10 General fund dated June 30th, 2024, unaudited, and to approve the accounts payable dated September 16th, 2024, in the amount of $655,705.88, and paid accounts for August, September in the amount of $1,528,296.86 as listed.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. The motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Item 3.02 is a reminder that budget transfers will resume in October per the school code. They're not permitted until then. And item 3.03 is a reminder that we did have a finance joint governance meeting prior to this meeting, and we did focus on mostly the equation that derives our revenue and all the variables that that make it up. And then we have our next finance meeting on October 7th, and for that meeting, as Dr. Miller just said, we will open up the hood on expenditures and the equation for that. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, buildings and grounds, Mr. Cassidy, do you want me to read through this for you?
That would be great, Amy.
Okay, just jump in if there's something you need to comment or questions on. I'm just going to go through it.
Okay.
Okay, item 4.01 is an action item, a motion to approve roofing repairs replacement at Richmond Elementary School by Pennsylvania Roofing Systems at a cost of $24,000.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made or seconded. Is there any comments? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item 4.02 is an information item for board consideration in October planning meeting. Motion to approve a change order for mounting attachments by Horizon Information Services in the amount of $2,384 as attached. Item 4.03 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve replacement doors at Pine-Richland High School by A.J. Morrow Company in the amount of $16,985 as attached. That's regarding door number 5. And so item 4.03 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve replacement doors. We're on 4.04, right? My thing is, okay, my thing's lagging a minute. Hang on. Okay, there we go. 4.04 is an information item for board consideration at the October 7th planning meeting. Motion to accept in accordance with board policy 702 gifts, grants, and donations, and with sincere gratitude, a donation and installation of green artificial turf, pad underlayment, and gravel under and around the hillside slide at Hance Elementary School by the Gata family in conjunction with the Hance Elementary Parent Teacher Organization. Value of the equipment and installation, $4,500. Item number 4.05, information item. On November 14th, 2002, the board approved change order authorizations by the superintendent up to a limit of $10,000, and the superintendent and the school board subject lead for buildings and grounds for a limit of up to $25,000 for the Pine-Richland High School athletic project and the HVAC project. The change order is for electrical materials and working hours for Penn, Ohio electrical contractors to provide power to two condensate pumps and a refill pump that were not part of the original design.
So, Mrs. Turchik, this is Jeff Zimmerman.
Yep, go ahead.
Speak on that one. So this change order, it's a small dollar change order. It's our last one for this HVAC project. So that project wrapped up. We're in the process of closing out the paperwork and getting billing done. But that project, that's the second of really 2 change orders we had. We had a bigger one for $48,000 about over a year ago for a bunch of piping that we did. And then we went the rest of the project without another significant change order. So this will close us out. I think it's over $2,100 or so. But just to let you know that we aren't anticipating any more change outs for that middle school project, and we'll be closing that one out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, and that's good news, so appreciate it. Thank you. Item 4.06 is information item about indoor air quality. So this is...
It's just all various forms of
Okay.
preventative testing. And so what's included here exceeds any requirement that we would have in our schools. So all the results that we have when we do these tests, we attach publicly. We do a lot of the IAQ testing prior to every year, and then in response to anything that comes up from the staff. So
Okay.
again, positive results and a good program that Mr. Zimmerman oversees.
Okay, perfect. Great. And item 4.07, public information about our contractor asbestos. Is this the same thing? Just update information about our...
Yeah, absolutely. So this is strictly for asbestos. So these are the requirements that we're required to put out for a HERA, which is the act that establishes how we need to post all our findings and our plans for any kind of asbestos management. And so this will be an ongoing board item every year.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to academic achievement, Mrs. Brasalis.
Thank you. Item 5.01 is an information item, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Justice.
Yes, thank you so much. So while this item represents a lot of things we just spoke about, I also do want to mention that a lot of the work you read about now has been 2.5 years in strategy in the making in terms of working with the Academic Leadership Council members and the teachers to decide at what pace should we attack which piece. You know, what was the priority at the time? ELA was where we began in terms of looking at structured literacy requirements, which we actually noted within the in-depth program review prior to the state imposing required learning, which was kind of an excellent way of us kind of projecting what was happening and being able to be responsive in the moment. And so our teachers have had a lot of professional development, mainly focused over this past year within that, as well as the integration of the resources that we used at the primary. So that would be the phonemic awareness and the phonics resources listed. And so we are in our second year of those, while also integrating the Wonders as the new anthology to kind of support that and the comprehension of those strategies once put into practice. And in the background, while we had the phonics and phonemic awareness tools in place K-2, we started thinking about structured literacy, and the next layers of helping kids develop reading is to think about word parts. And so we've known that in our schooling, the majority of us, as prefixes, suffixes, word parts, common endings that are utilized, and teaching the meaning that attaches to those units, as well as the kids being able to spell those units. So while you're attacking spelling and the orthography of it, you're also working on the morphology of the meaning of these word parts, so that as they come across these words in other places, they can break it down and really think about what it means. That has been something that we've done in existence, but more so as we come across a multisyllabic word that maybe we have to work as a class to figure out what that means. We are now systematizing the way in which we approach that. So there's another resource that we are utilizing for professional development with our staff in October, where we're gonna take that next step for our teams in 3 through 5 to think about word parts and how we address building them into how we instruct in a way that we know exactly which words and word parts the kids are going to have as a guaranteed kind of exposure. So think of it as a way in which to help them decode, encode, so read and write, but then also understand what they're reading and writing, and being able to put those word parts together. So our third graders are the beneficiaries of having had that full K-2 experience, and so we're very excited as our third grade teachers are now experiencing those children and what they're capable of, and going on above, we're going to keep layering and adding as we go through that structured literacy progression. So that is something that's happening in the background. As well, I did mention the STEEL standards implementation, as did Dr. P. Our science folks are very focused on that. The PSSA, we did get word. We thought that we would be administering it in grades 4 and a 5 pilot this year. The state did apply for federal basically exemption from the 4th grade one, and so now we are only testing the kids in the spring in 5th grade. So if you had a 4th grader last year, 5th grader this year, they are going to get to take that assessment again, but it is going to be a pilot of those new STEELS aligned questions in formatting. A good
piece that we have happening in the background is that the state also releases the classroom diagnostic tools, the CDT. You might have heard your students refer to it. Not that we will take it as an assessment end to end, but we can even have students or a teacher log in on an IWB, the display boards that you see in front of you, and model a question or two at a time to kind of think about the format of the test online, as well as the way in which those questions are now being framed. So we can really expose them. We've talked previously about the obstacle course and preparing them for those assessments. So we're excited that we've got those set up. We'll be able to preview a little bit about what that test will look like. Students will need to participate. Obviously, we have a 95% participation rate requirement from the state. We anticipate meeting that, but the scores will not be attributed to the students as they're working to level this assessment. So this will be kind of our first time through what's there, but we're feeling pretty good about it because we've been thinking about the next generation science standards when we were infusing them into the Pennsylvania science standards at the time, and our Amplify resource that we're using really does do that phenomenon-based critical thinking encouragement for students. So we're hoping to see some great things coming out of that. With that assessment moving to grade 5, something to keep in mind, you are being assessed on everything that has come up to that point, similarly as our 8th graders will be assessed on everything from grades 6, 7, and 8 going forward. So what we do in our approach for science is really discipline-based. So in 6th grade, we are getting responsible, we are responsible for the earth and space science content, life science primarily happening in 7th grade, physical science in 8th, so that the kids are getting the skills that they need, and we're working intentionally on how do we spiral that content, because it is somewhat different, right, when you silo it that way, to make sure that they retain it and can apply it come 8th grade. So that's something we're actively thinking about, hence also the expansion with the earth space science units. It's the same content as we taught before, but now packaged in that phenomenon-based manner that we would like to pursue next year, and our teachers have access to what that course looks like online through Amplify to be thinking about those problems and the phenomenons that they could be embedding within those lessons. So just a little update on that. Obviously, any changes that we would make, we'd be bringing in the spring with like the red line version of the curriculum, adjusting those resources and things as we've discussed previously. Okay, thank you.
Item 5.02 is an information item. The book titles on the attached list represent books to be ordered by the librarians at Pine-Richland Middle, Eden Hall Upper Elementary School, Wexford Elementary School, and Hance Elementary School. Item 5.03 is also an information item. The Pine-Richland School District Library Department completed its in-depth program review in May of 2020. Should I turn this over? I don't know. Should I be reading all of this?
You don't need to. This is just an opportunity again. Back in 2022, 2023, we offered all of our families library cards, and that was in partnership with Northern Tier Regional Library. And the majority of our families took advantage of that opportunity. There is an opt-out option for that, but we are excited to get library cards in the hands of our students, and then our librarians did a lot of cool lessons, really teaching our students all the things that public libraries offer kids and families in terms of resources. We did not do that last year, so we want to provide that opportunity to our students that are currently in kindergarten, first grade, and any new students to our district since the 22-23 school year. So we've been working with Northern Tier. We're ready to move forward with that. We'll follow the same process as we'll communicate out to our K-1 and new families, offer that opportunity. If they already have a card or if they're not interested, that's fine, and then get those cards in the hands of those students as soon as we can.
I have a question about the new students entering. If we approve this, then will it be moving forward that every new student will be offered it here on out?
Just for this year, I mean, that's something we'll have to continue to work with Northern Tier. I can't answer that.
Okay.
You're talking about into the future. Past
Yeah, I didn't
year.
know if we...
Or do you mean because we're giving them a snapshot of any students deemed new at this point in time, that if they join later in the year? Are you asking that?
I mean, like for the not... So I'm wondering, are we just approving for this year?
We're not
not approving.
We're not approving anything.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
already
know.
been approved.
Yeah, what was approved is the MOU with Northern Tier. It was a 3-year MOU So if we want to continue doing this down the road, we'll have to re-engage in that conversation. So
Okay.
for this year, it's K-1 plus new students, and then we'd have to go from there.
So then next year, when we look at new students, then we'd have to go over the MOU with
Correct.
the library.
Yes,
Got it. Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
And item 5.04 is an information item that an academic achievement joint governance meeting is scheduled for September 23rd, 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. Policy 109.1, library resources, will be discussed.
Okay, thank you. Student Services, Mrs. Hillman.
Agenda item 6.01 is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the cross-country athletes to travel to Hershey, PA from Friday, September 20th to Saturday, September 21st, 2024, to participate in the Foundation Cross-Country Invitational as described on the attached field trip request form.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Agenda item 6.02 for board consideration at the October planning meeting is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the 7th and 8th grade choir and orchestra ensemble to travel to Sandusky, Ohio from Friday, May 16th, 2025 to Saturday, May 17th, 2025 to participate in a music competition and adjudication as described on the attached field trip request form. Agenda item 6.03 for board consideration at the October planning meeting is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Pine-Richland competitive cheerleading team to travel to Delaware, Ohio from Saturday, October 26th to Sunday, October 27th to participate in the USA Ohio Regional Cheerleading Competition as described on the attached field trip request form. Agenda item 6.04 for board consideration at the October planning meeting is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Pine-Richland competitive cheerleading team to travel to Orlando, Florida from Wednesday, February 5th to Monday, February 10th, 2025 to participate in the UCA National Cheerleading Competition as described on the attached field trip request form. Agenda item 6.05 for board approval at the October planning meeting is a motion to approve student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Pine-Richland High School choir, band, and orchestra students to travel and participate in the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association Regional Choir Festival as described below and on the attached field trip request form. Item 6.06 for board consideration at the October planning meeting, a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Pine-Richland High School music students to travel to Mount Pocono, PA from Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 to Friday, April 11th to participate in the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association State Conference as described on the attached field trip request form. Item 6.07 is an information item. The district has communicated to families and is implementing the opt-in approach to student counseling curriculum at the elementary level. Below are the current statistics as of Friday, September 13th, 2024.
So we just wanted on this last one, we spent obviously a fair amount of time talking about this and thinking about what would the approach be. All those lessons were developed and then made public. And we see here at the 7 through 12 level, so at the bottom of the public content, that was the opt-out. And so we see from grade 7 through 12, about 24 students opted out of one or more lessons. Those 24 students represent about 18 different families. At the top is where a lot of the time it has been invested in a variety of ways. So that's from Mrs. Hassinger, as the Director of Communications, to Mrs. Van Moak, who's our state reporting coordinator, to our principals, counselors, classroom teachers, and others. So we have the board is aware that this has sort of been, every week we get some updates on how the numbers are changing. But again, I'd say significant response in the fact that 93% are full yes, about 95% full or partial yes, and we're still waiting on tracking down a few families. Again, it is challenging at times just to make sure that we touch everyone and get the responses. So a very good response from our community in terms of their thoughts about counseling participation, but definitely big investment of time. And that is something that I would ask the board to consider as we head into subsequent years. Again, providing the opportunity is important, and understand that, but also thinking about how to do that and communicate that in ways that are also efficient, effective to getting parents those opportunities and choices. So again, good information, still working on finishing it up, but I would make that comment now, even though we don't have anything in front of us right now today.
And one more thing, even though we're finishing, so at one point we had reached 0 at all of the primaries, but as we keep getting new families enrolling who don't even have access yet to Sapphire, their numbers are popping up. So we're kind of like chasing our tails a little bit, and as long as we have new enrollments, that'll continue to happen, but we'll verify with everyone who comes in, even if they're new. Obviously, they get to fill out that form. It'll stay in Sapphire throughout the year.
Do we know when the first quarter, push-in will be?
Yes, so at
Approximately?
the schools, primaries specifically, they've already begun scheduling lessons because again, these are new families, so they're able to move forward with those. Eden Hall has begun to move forward in pockets, so again, where they see an entire classroom is done or a neighborhood where they wanted to push in, then they're doing that. So we're beginning to slowly schedule them. It was targeted for the first quarter, so they're able to kind of flex. Obviously, it's putting a little bit of stress because they certainly have a way they'd like to approach it, right? And we're trying to be as flexible as possible with that as we get responses.
Thank you. All good? Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hillman. Staff Services, Mr. Weethorn?
Sure. Item 7.01 is a motion to approve the PREA, PRESPA personnel, athletic, non-athletic supplementals, and transportation personnel as attached.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.02 is a motion to authorize the superintendent and director of human resources to hire custodians and maintenance technicians after September 16th, 2024, to be formally approved retroactively if appropriate by the Board of School Directors at the October 7th, 2024 and or October 21st, 2024 school board meetings.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Item 7.03 is an action item. It's a motion to approve the staff attendance and application of Courtney Kronk Love, Pine-Richland Senior High business teacher, to attend Jumpstart National Education Conference in Louisville, Kentucky from Saturday, November 2nd to Monday, November 4th, 2024, to attend the Professional Development Conference focused on financial literacy instruction.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.04 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. The motion to approve the attached independent contractor agreement with Christine Oros, who will be working through psych services for the 2024-2025 school year. Item 7.05 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the attached Duquesne University School Psychology Practicum Agreement with Practicum Placement for Elizabeth Stofkos, as well as psychological student practicum placements for the IUP students listed below. Item 7.06 is an information item for board consideration in the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the attendance of John Staunton to attend the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials Facilities, Transportation, and Safety Conference at Seven Springs Resort, Seven Springs, PA, from October 24th through October 25th, 2024. Item 7.07 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the affiliation agreement with Gwinnett Mercy University as attached. Item 7.08 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the student teacher placement as attached. And this is for Kelly Young, K through 4 certification with Gwinnett Mercy University. And item 7.09 is an information item. The 800 policies were last reviewed in May 2022. Policy 800 records management was pulled from that batch by the administration for further review. This policy requires thoughtful attention due to the digital and cloud-based storage solutions as well as regulatory requirements for certain hard copy storage. The administration has been reviewing and updating the corresponding administrative regulation. After discussion at the August 19th meeting, it was decided to bring the policy back as an information item to continue discussion. There is a red line version of the policy 800 will be prepared for discussion at the October 7th, 2024 planning meeting. And then based on that discussion, may be ready for the first reading at the October 21st regular meeting.
Okay. So on that 800 policy, we received some comments and questions last week. They'll require some time to get responses and want to ensure that those can get to the whole board. And then the board will have to determine, what or whether to change in any of the areas. Again, based on the condition of that, then hopefully we can work through whatever that is on the next board meeting and then get a first read at the end of October. Reviewing any potential changes in advance of the 7th will, I think, lead to better discussion on the 7th. So once we get some thoughts to everybody, if you have any questions, please reach out so we can talk through those, or I can listen to various input, or whoever it is the appropriate person.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Operational Services, Mrs. Miller.
Item 8.01 is an action item, a motion to approve the renewal of the CAMI software and licenses in the amount of $12,555.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 8.02 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Will be the motion to ratify a 3-year contract extension with NRG Direct Energy for natural gas on the Columbia gas system with the base price of 26 cents, almost 27 cents per DTH, and with UGI for natural gas on the People's Gas System with the base price of 50 cents per DTH with a start date of September 1st next year, 25.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to board business, Mrs. Williams, would it be okay if we ask who wants to move things into the consent agenda for next meeting? Is that okay? I'll let Mr. Cassidy, he might have to send you an email if that's okay, if he's busy online, because he's online, but Mrs. Persalis and Mrs. Hillman, if there's any you want to move.
I actually have a few. Do you have any?
I have none to move to consent.
Can I add 6.02 through 6.06 to the consent agenda in student services?
Okay. You don't have any? Mike, do you have any?
Not at this time.
Okay, that's fine. And then Leslie?
Yeah, item 8.02.
Okay. You don't have any. You move yours, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you. And then Mr. Cassidy, if you can let Mrs. Williams know, that would be great. Okay. Item 9.01, action item, motion to approve the settlement agreement relating to the federal court litigation case number 222-CV-01329.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 9.02 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the attendance of Mrs. Williams, the board secretary, at the 2024 PSBA School Board Secretaries Conference in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, from Wednesday, November 6th to Friday, November 8th. 9.03 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to approve the casting of a vote on behalf of Pine-Richland School District for the following individuals to serve a one-year term as officers for PSBA: Sabrina Backer as president-elect and Matt Vanoy as vice president, and Christy Boyd as serve a two-year term as Western Zone representative. All candidates are the sole candidates for the positions indicated. And then item 9.04 is an information item for board consideration at the October planning meeting. Motion to elect Nathan G. Maines, Richard Freirich, and William S. Lakoff as trustees on the board of PSBA Insurance Trust for a 3-year term. In addition to the PSBA officers election, the board is also asked to elect up to 3 candidates for 3 open trustee positions. The names listed are the only candidates for the 3 open positions. Deadline for voting is October 25th, so we'll be good for that. And then item 9.05, school culture and diversity. Dr. Pasquinelli, you're going to give us an update on that, please.
Yeah, thank you. So just wanted to give everybody, again, an update in terms of the work of the Core Plus 4 team. One of the areas of focus for this particular year was around professional development for staff, required professional development around culturally relevant, sustaining education. So the team got together to talk about topics for our staff. We have put together what we consider a really nice adult professional learning opportunity here. So within this agenda item, you can kind of see the breakdown of learning activities that we have put together. The focus is really on integrating topics, required topics such as Title IX, sexual harassment, non-discrimination, and really thinking about supporting all students, diverse learners that are in every single classroom every single day, and how do teachers manage that and think about practical things like lesson planning that ties into all students. So if you take a look at the framework that's listed here in the agenda, like I said, we have it broken down to about an hour and a half, starting out with some brainstorming of all the ways students are different and thinking about that and how does that apply to day in and day out instruction with students. And then also integrating those required policies and understandings of those policies. So policy 103, we talk about that quite a bit, obviously, and how that's integrated into the staff's understanding of implementing that and working with the kids. We have put together a couple of different scenarios, and we'll add to that to really make it as a real-world experience for our staff to think through, what are things that you can do proactively for students, know that you have a lot of differences in your classroom, and then what are those required responsive activities that come with more of the policy alignment. And then the last part is really putting the theory into practice. So if 500 plus employees, if we're talking about our teachers and paraprofessionals, 300 plus, 400 plus people, thinking about how do they commit to making some of those modifications for all kids, and that impact on the culture and experience for our kids, we think will be pretty dynamic. And then the last part is lesson plan implementation. So as I think about, again, different students in my classroom, and knowing that and thinking about all the ways that they're different, how do I apply that to day in and day out lesson planning? So we've laid that out. It's there for every other board member to see and then pose questions to the Core Plus 4 team if you have any. We intend to implement this professional development, probably not the October in-service, but one of the other in-services later. We're hoping more mid part of the school year as opposed to last year when we did some of our professional development a little bit later than we wanted to. That was the trauma-informed. Still integrating that in, but we're looking to have this professional development earlier in the school year.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Item 10, meeting closing reports. We have any reports? Dr. Miller? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a brief update on safety. This is something that obviously has been in the news and in our community as well. And I just wanted to share a few, comments with the board and the community. So, the foundation for learning is a safe and positive environment. There's no question about that. And that is the mission and charge that we have in our schools every day. we have had and taken what we would call a multi-layered approach to safety and security over the years. So that's enhancements in the physical buildings, technology, reporting systems, drills and training, mental health supports and services. There's a list of areas that we have focused over the years to strengthen each and every part of that, and that's something that we work hard to do all the time. So even communicating with the Pine-Richland community, we've done that over the summer as we prepare for, the upcoming school year. That's sort of the proactive planning and strengthening of safety and security. Then when things occur, the first step is to evaluate that. And so evaluating threats is one of the first challenges that can emerge, during a school day or during the weekend. And that really involves getting the right people together. The right people includes Northern Regional Police Department. So we have a strong relationship. We have a relationship not only with them, but through them with the FBI in order to try to get our hands and heads wrapped around what it is that we are learning. This is a challenge for us. It's a challenge for all schools. It's a challenge for anybody who's responsible for organizations or businesses or companies that have situations that are evolving. Social media is a huge challenge. There are things that occur or are posted or are shared, and trying to understand what it is, with whom it was shared, what it means. Is it specific to a community or school, or is it something that's generically out there? What is fact? What is rumor? These are all challenges. One of the best things that we have happening is a culture of reporting and sharing concerns. And so whether that's a student telling an adult in school, or safe to say something, or the tips line, or it's a parent reaching out to a principal, when we get information, we can begin that evaluation and threat assessment process and then determine, how we should respond from there. We very much recognize how important communication is. And so the challenge is speed and accuracy. Social media and the technological reality of the world is that things happen fast, and whether they're accurate or inaccurate, they're happening fast and are communicated quickly. We have the responsibility to try to pause and make sure we understand what it is that we're looking at, and then organize a communication that is accurate, that is clear, that is based on the information in front of us. And at times that also means balancing the tension between the specifics of a situation and what it is that we can publicly share. So again, I appreciate the support not only of our team and of our staff, but of our parents and community. It was a challenging week for sure, and this happens from time to time in schools. It's something we take seriously all the time, but I thought it might be beneficial to share a few of the things that we think about as we go through that.
Yeah, and we want to thank you, all of you, administration. You guys had a lot on your plates, and we recognize that, and we really appreciate the communication and all the efforts and everything that you put together for that. Thank you so much.
Ms. Turchik, if I could add just one other thing that we've got happening this week, and Mrs. Miller had a lot to do with this as well. So tomorrow, actually, we're offering to our families a presentation in partnership with NJM Insurance. It's called What Do You Consider Lethal? And it's around a program designed to help teens avoid reckless and distracted driving. So the plan is to allow our parents the opportunity to view this presentation first. So all you have to do is kind of sign up online. You'll be connected to a Zoom meeting, and you'll be participating live with the presenter. That's scheduled for tomorrow. You don't have to come into school. Everybody's busy, so it's an opportunity to really connect with this important topic. A lot of our families obviously have teen drivers, and that is a scary thing to think about as your children progress through life. We've had some obviously tragic incidents here at Pine-Richland, and it hits home. And the presentation, we previewed it, and the videos are very much connected to what we have experienced here. We are offering this to our junior and senior students on the 25th. So again, the concept is to have it for parents tomorrow, and then parents can make a determination if they choose that they do not want their children to participate in that on the 25th. Those are large group presentations. And we also know that we have a number of families that are very much connected to the tragic accident that happened, that we'll be reaching out personally to them to make sure that they're comfortable with that. But we do think it is really an important topic for our families and our kids to wrap their heads around, especially around, they're just getting their licenses and getting started with driving, and some really good opportunities for them to connect and understand that. So parents tomorrow, and then students on the 25th.
And what time is that Zoom? Do you know what the time
Tomorrow's at 7 o'clock. Yeah, and it'll be activity period for the students.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Reports? Okay. Recognition of visitors. Mrs. William, how many are we looking at?
Okay, so we have 3 people online, and we have 1 person who's already spoke, so we'll do the online people first.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Stoburn, if we could start with Mr. Medea. Hello, Mr. Medea.
Yes.
You're on with the board.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to those school board members who have stayed true to the values and beliefs of those of us that voted them into office this past November. Please continue to resist the extreme leftist initiatives that have been allowed to wreak havoc in other school districts in various parts of our country. In regards to the current contract negotiations, I'm not so worried about how much these teachers are paid as I am about what they are teaching, and if they are teaching, what they're teaching is in the prescribed curriculum. I also want to make a statement that appointing a 16-person panel in order to qualify the school curriculum is outrageous. It's the responsibility of an elected school board representative, and it's not something that the residents of PRSD will allow to be delegated to a group of unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats. For those of you currently serving on the board who would like to dodge the responsibility for which you have been elected to perform, perhaps you should consider resigning or foregoing another term on the board. In regards to the ongoing discussion addressing changes in school curriculum, to be more specific, interest groups, I believe these special interest groups think they have the explicit right to change curriculum content for the whole school district based on their grievances that represent a relative few people in the school district. The responsibility of the Pine-Richland School District is to provide quality education in academics, traditional academics. The school is no place to experiment with social engineering, nor is it a place where students should be exposed to the political persuasions of the faculty. Pine-Richland School District has a diverse school-age population with a difference in social, cultural, and racial backgrounds for sure. But the goal shouldn't be to dwell on these differences, but rather we should be focusing on all those things which the student population has in common. Those things with college aspirations, a successful career, a chance to pursue dreams of success in any number of professional fields. There are always special accommodations that can be made available to unique students.
15 seconds.
The IEP process, which could be expanded to address other specific needs outside of learning disabilities. But trying to reinvent the academic platform of PRSD to accommodate such issues is not in the best interest of anyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next online speaker is Jennifer Spitznagel. Hello, Ms. Spitznagel? Hello?
Yes, that's me.
Hi, you're on with the board.
Yep, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I should start talking now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I'm just going to read what I have written here. Pine-Richland is lucky to boast a highly ranked school district. I moved my children into this school district before they started school because I believed in the ratings and word of mouth from my other parent friends. I have 2 children, a daughter in 5th grade at Eden Hall and a son in 3rd grade at Richland Elementary. I'll first tell you about my daughter, who was a 1st grader during the 2020-2021 school year. We opted for virtual learning for her, and she was blessed to have Mrs. Anderson as her teacher. Mrs. Anderson was one of the district's teachers who volunteered to teach virtually, something that she had never done before. She was able to get a group of 1st graders through one of the most challenging years and learning environments that I can imagine. And not only that, but bring them together as a group who still have lasting friendships. It was so powerful that I actually cried driving my daughter through the end of the year cart parade that year. My son Elliot was identified as needing reading support in kindergarten. With the support of Mrs. Copella, his kindergarten teacher, Mr. Hackworth, his 1st grade teacher, and Mrs. Jewart, his 2nd grade teacher, he is now excelling in math and reading, and he likes to go to school. And I don't know if you realize how powerful that is for me as a parent. We should be proud to live in such a district, but it is hard to be proud of the lack of appreciation shown to our teachers. The teachers' requests are reasonable, fair, and in line with other similar districts. They ask for competitive wages, adequate prep time, reasonable class sizes, and proper building maintenance. Why should they have to fight for that? And why would this not be granted? Why would we expect them to bend and accept less than other districts in our area when they are constantly asked to do more? Larger class sizes and less prep time means more work that they have to do after hours. In my opinion, I don't understand what there is to negotiate. Overall morale is being affected by these negotiations. The teachers' morale, of course, but also the morale of the students and the students' families. Might I remind the board that these are your constituents, and in case it has become lost somehow, the role of the school board members is to represent the interests of these very people whose morale is decreasing day by day. I implore you to do better. Our teachers deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amy McKay. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Ms. McKay. You're on with the board.
Hi. I am calling as a Pine-Richland graduate, and I also have 2 children at Eden Hall and 1 at Wexford Elementary. I just wanted to call to voice my support for the teachers throughout the district. I'm often in the schools working with the PTOs, so I'm often speaking with the teachers. And while speaking with the teachers and in the schools, all they're asking for is that their contract be comparable to those in districts nearby that we actually exceed academically. They want fair compensation. Our teachers are consistently going above and beyond expectations. My older children that are in Eden Hall consistently have 26, sometimes 27 kids within their classrooms, which is, I think, way too high. Wexford, I know of a class that has up to 24 kids in it. How, when you have 24 kids in it, are you getting anything productive done? As many have said earlier, it's not good for the students and it's not good for the teachers. We need to do better for our teachers, and they deserve better. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the counseling curriculum. With everything that went on last week, I think it shows how important our counseling curriculum is. One of the units from our K-6 curriculum that we made opt-in instead of opt-out was internet safety and cyberbullying. Instead of making that opt-in for
93%, I think it was 93% of the families in the district decided to opt in. We made it more difficult for families at the busiest time of the school year, at the beginning of the school year, and made it opt in. I talked to many families that thought that it was confusing. Some of the families that I know that wanted to opt in on it were going to choose no on it. So who knows if even some of those no's on there actually knew what they were choosing. I think we spent our counselors, principals, teachers, whoever had to contact these parents spent way too much time on this. I think we should be freeing up all of that time and letting our counselors, especially in times like last week, have time with our students where they deserve to be. Thank you.
Our last online person is Marcy Fisher. Hello, Mrs. Fisher.
Oh yes, hi, this is Marcy Fisher. I have two students under the umbrella of Pine-Richland. First, I'd like to thank you for the district communication last week regarding the safety updates. I appreciated that. And I just wanted to talk about the teacher contracts. We came to Pine-Richland or Richland roughly 12 years ago in search of a brighter future for my children, one with intellectual disabilities. We moved here because the class sizes were smaller, the infrastructure was in place, the district had a legacy of value on inclusion and a process to make it happen. When we arrived in Pine-Richland, I realized the opportunities we have here. There were small class sizes, smart boards in every classroom. There has been inclusion with my son being able to use his AAC system to do a PowerPoint presentation in the regular education classroom in 3rd grade. There are opportunities here in sports and music education and extracurricular activities. These qualities make our school district desirable and makes the value of our home stay competitive. I reviewed the class sizes of current classrooms, and we are not competitive any longer with other school districts in our area. The state average for K through 3 is 18 students, whereas Pine-Richland is 19 to 25 students per class. The state average for grades 4 through 6 is 21 students, and Pine-Richland is 24 to 29 students per class, based on the data presented by the PREA. Reasonable class sizes are important for inclusion. It's also important that the teachers receive a contract soon that is supportive of their needs and it benefits the students. Please listen to the requests of the teachers. They are one set of the heroes of our school that make us have Pine-Richland pride. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Jennifer Buse.
Restart the time. Can I just ask that in the future, I'm speaking on something else. I'm here away from my family. I don't know if anyone could consider putting the calling the online speakers after in person. Thanks. Jen, I have 4 kids, 3 in the district. I wanted to go back to the Principles for Governance Policy 0011, the govern effectively, align board decisions to policy ensuring compliance with the PA school code and other local, state, and federal laws. And that I just want to talk about the CRSE state requirement, the culturally relevant and sustaining education state requirement, that several board members somehow oppose and decided to make these trainings local. For the trauma-informed education training that was done in March, it was edited by exclusively removing any mention of racial trauma to make it local. Teacher training developed in September, that was discussed at this meeting, was to focus on Title IX sexual harassment and Title VI protected classes. I would love, Dr. P, access to the state-created training slide deck to determine whether this training was also made local by removing all teacher training that would specifically benefit our Black and brown kids, our kids in the LGBTQ community. Does anyone else see how odd it is that we are still calling this cultural and diversity while pretending Black and brown kids and LGBTQ kids do not exist at Pine-Richland? These are kids, and you are obligated by law to train our teachers, even though, as noted by a caller, they are not the majority, because they matter and they are worth it. The policy also talks about evaluate continuously, utilize appropriate data to make informed decisions. Why are we altering our book acquisition policy? The need did not arise during the strategic planning process, and in fact seemed an exemplar policy with the last batch of reconsideration of books in October when the North Carolina Agitator came to talk about our books. I want to also thank the admin, I'm not sure if it was high school admin, maybe Miss Miller, for the training for the 11th and 12th graders on safe driving. And then I wanted to speak on signs at the last election. Parental involvement is not optional, were signs that I saw, and many of you ran on parental involvement. I am volunteering again this year for the high school PTO board, and I want to thank Ms. Miller for helping with Picture Day at the high school earlier in the month, and I want to welcome parents to join the PTO meetings. The first one is this week at 9:30 in the morning in the library classroom. Dr. Hernandez, our principal, will be there, and likely the vice
15
principals.
seconds.
They often are available at PTO meetings across buildings and are usually happy to take questions. This would be a good opportunity to see how transparent they are, that they're not trying to hide all these woke ideologies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Before we adjourn, the board will meet in executive session after this meeting to discuss a student matter related to special education. Meeting adjourned.